Indian National Congress. It was an organization formed in 1885 by a retired British bureaucrat named A.O. Hume. The main purpose for the formation of the Indian National Congress at that time was to give the educated Indians a platform to have a civic and political dialogue with the British government. The British on their part wanted to pacify the Indian people and avoid any inconvenient situation such as the Great Revolt of 1857. The first session of Indian National Congress took place in Bombay and was attended by 72 delegates. In the beginning, the members of the Congress were moderates who believed in requesting the government for reforms, but the British never paid much attention to these demands. Later on, another group of radicals developed in the Congress who believed in fighting for their demands to the British. This group was led by Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, popularly known as Lal Bal Pal. They strongly believed in protests, strikes and boycotts for protesting the government. The surging wave of nationalism in India was a reason of great concern for the ruling British government. The British felt it impossible to handle the united challenge of the Indians. The Viceroy of India at that time, Lord Curzon, played the trump card of divide and rule policy to break the national unity among the majority of Indian population on religious grounds. Bengal, which consisted of Hindus and Muslims, were partitioned in 1905. Bengal was a strategic choice for such a step due to many reasons. First, it was the hub of business, industries and education of India. Second, it was dominated by the people of these two religions. The British partitioned Bengal in the name of administrative convenience, but their main motive was to divide the Hindu-Muslim unity and divert the attention of people from nationalism and protest against the government of Swadeshi and boycott movements. People of India were greatly angered by the partition of Bengal. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, along with Aurobindo Ghosh and other political leaders, started protesting against the government. The chief motive of the British to stay in India was to earn profit by selling their industrial products. Indian leaders attacked their interests by appealing to the Indian masses to boycott using foreign clothes and products and use only clothes made in India. So, the Swadeshi and boycott movements aimed to sensitize people towards using the goods and services of their own country and boycotting all the foreign goods and services. There were strong protests against the government everywhere, and the partition of Bengal was publicly condemned. Several extremist groups also emerged to protest against the partition. The partition was meant to dilute the national unity, but it worked the other way around for the government. Vande Mataram. Presently, the national song of India was composed in 1882 and translated into English in 1909. It inspired and surged up the feeling of nationalism among the Indian masses. Unification of Bengal. The government was compelled to rescind the partition and Bengal was again unified in 1911. It was seen as a setback and embarrassment for the government. The capital of India was shifted from Calcutta, now known as Kolkata, to Delhi. Participation in the First World War. During the First World War, Britain needed help from India. The people gave their full support to the British in the hope that after the war, the British would free India or at least grant the right of self-governance. However, by the end of the war, it became clear that the British had no intention of fulfilling their commitment. In place of granting the right to freedom, the British brought the Government of India Act, which was of no use for Indians. To suppress any kind of revolt against treachery and injustice, the British government enforced the Rowlatt Act. This act was Black Act as it authorized the government to arrest anyone suspicious of working against the government. All the top-ranking leaders were arrested on the ground of causing public unrest. Park Massacre. This was an outrageous show of ruthlessness to the masses of India. On 13th April 1919, a peaceful public gathering was held in the Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar to protest against the unlawful policies of the government. A British officer named General Dyer came with his troops, blocked the only gate of the park, and opened fire on the innocent people without warning. The firing only stopped when all the ammunition was over. As per the official records, 379 people were killed and 1,137 wounded in this incident. This incident sparked fresh row of protests against the government and gave birth to another great movement. The Khilafat movement. The word Khilafat means protest. The Muslims in India were angered by the treatment meted out to the Sultan of Turkey, the Caliph or the religious leader of the Muslims the world over after the First World War. To protest against this, various Indian leaders such as Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, M.A. Ansari, Saifuddin Kichlew and the Ali brothers formed this movement. Operation Movement was started by Mahatma Gandhi to protest against the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and the injustice done by the British government after the First World War by disobeying the government. People from all walks of life participated in this movement by peacefully resisting the government. They boycotted foreign clothes, picketed liquor shops, left government schools, colleges and government jobs, and abandoned government factories. The non-cooperation movement was a major setback for the government. Participation of people in this movement was huge beyond all expectations. The movement was later joined with the Khilafat movement and became a bigger problem for the British, as the unity they wanted to break among the Hindus and Muslims was getting stronger by the day. Unfortunately, a violent incident in Chauri Chaura in Uttar Pradesh took place in 1922. In this incident, villagers agitated by the killing of some people set a police station on fire, in which 22 policemen were killed. Mahatma Gandhi was so upset that he withdrew the movement, thinking that it had deviated from the path of non-violence. Simon Commission. The British were in difficulties due to regular protests by the people and the deteriorating law and order situation. To pacify the people, the government set up the Simon Commission, who would hear the problems of the people and make suitable amendments. This commission got a negative response from the Indians, as it was felt that the commission was again an attempt to befool the people. Though the commission had been set up to address the problems and needs of the people of India, it did not have a single Indian as member. Nationwide protests were held wherever the commission went. It was greeted with the slogan, "Simon, go back." Lala Lajpat Rai was killed in one such protest and G.B. Pant was badly wounded, among others, sparking another gust of discontent against the government. Revolutionaries such as Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad and B.K. Dutt became active at this time. Disobedience movement. This movement was started in 1930 when the Congress gave the slogan of Purna Swaraj, meaning complete independence. This movement started with the Dandi March of Gandhiji and his few followers from the Sabarmati ashram to Dandi in Gujarat. Gandhiji made salt to break the salt law. It aimed at completely defying the government by peaceful means like non-payment of taxes and breaking other laws. This movement also spread throughout the country and people participated in it overwhelmingly. They broke laws and courted arrests voluntarily. The movement eventually compelled the government to call the leaders and discuss their demands. 3 round-table conferences were held to discuss the problem and find solutions, but the government again backtracked from its promise when it saw that the movement was suspended. Quit India Movement. This movement was started by Mahatma Gandhi in August 1942. It aimed at throwing out the British government from India. Gandhiji gave the slogan of "Do or die" to the people. Most of the prominent political leaders were jailed during this movement, but it did not die and the British were compelled to realize that their time in India was over now. Eventually, the government had to agree to hand over the power to the Indians and return home. The British government agreed to free India after World War II in 1945. Indian National Army. The Indian Army, also known as Azad Hind Fauj, was constituted by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose to fight against the British. He gave the slogans Jai Hind and Give me blood, I shall give you freedom. India attains freedom. On 15th August 1947, India became a free nation and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of independent India. But this freedom did not come without a price. The country was partitioned into two parts on the basis of religion. The Hindu-dominated part remained as India, whereas the Muslim-dominated part was called Pakistan. India became a sovereign, secular, democratic republic on 26 January 1950 after enforcing its constitution.